The Philippines is being shaken by a one-man revolution.
Either you kill me or I will kill you, idiots.
He's a tough-talking former mayor who's vowed to wipe out drug dealers. His war on drugs has unleashed assassins like Maria.
When I got near this person who owed a lot to my boss, I went up close and then shot him.
Every day the bodies of suspected dealers are discovered. More than 3,000 have been killed in 3 months.
It's really tiring and scary, hiding all the time. You don't know if the person right in front of you will inform on you or if he might be your killer.
The police are raiding prisons and being forced to purge their own ranks.
The war on drugs is really bloody and messy. And we all know that.
This war is being fought in some of the poorest communities in the country. Over the past 2 decades, the Philippines has been swamped by the cheap and highly addictive drug crystal meth, known here as shabu. It destroys lives, breaks families, and feeds a powerful criminal underworld. Filipinos are among the world's highest users of the drug. Official statistics say 1.8 million people here are addicted. But recently elected President Rodrigo Duterte believes the true figure is more than double that. He's promised to stop it by unleashing a violent campaign against the dealers. A late afternoon raid just outside Manila, part of President Duterte's anti-drug campaign. In a country that's awash with guns as well as narcotics, they've come well prepared. But what's striking is their target today. It's a prison. Well, this is one of the larger prisons in Manila, and we've just come in with a pretty large team of police, SWAT teams. From the look of them, they were obviously expecting the possibility of serious armed resistance. Actually, it's really more like a drug search in a standard prison. They've been getting under the mattresses, checking people's where they keep their possessions. They've got one man under arrest here. But the fact is that the drug problem here is so serious, at least the government's view, that they're having to send in teams like this into a prison that's technically controlled by the authorities. The inmates are all made to lie face down and searched for any sign they may still be using or dealing drugs. The stench in these hot, overcrowded dormitories is overpowering. They think this man is an important dealer. But where's the other evidence they expected to find? Undercover officers have bought drugs here several times in recent weeks. But it seems this time the prisoners have been tipped off. In vain, they press a Chinese prisoner for more information. Many of the drug syndicates operating in the Philippines are Chinese-run. But all they can find is an assortment of rusty, improvised weapons. These police officers, more than 200 of them, have been brought here from the other side of Manila. The local forces couldn't be trusted. That's how deeply the narcotics business has infiltrated this country. Do you think the campaign that is going on now will succeed, that it will wipe out drugs?
Again, that's the challenge, and we'll do our best to comply with the orders of the president to get rid of drugs in 3 to 6 months.
You do have problems inside the police as well, don't you? There are some police officers involved in the trade.
Yeah, there is. That's why it's part of the cleansing process, internal cleansing. And we don't care if they're policemen. We have to get them, put them in jail, and if they fight, we have to defend ourselves. So it doesn't matter if all policemen involved, we have to get them.
In many ways, what's happening today in the Philippines actually starts here, at the monument to the first ever People Power Revolution 30 years ago, when a popular uprising overthrew the dictator Ferdinand Marcos and ushered in a boisterous and freewheeling democracy. Filipinos have kept faith with that democracy, voting in huge numbers every 6 years for a new president. And yet every one of those governments has failed to come even close to meeting the hopes that were raised here, that the old habits of corruption, abuses of power, lawlessness and grinding poverty would be curbed. And so the voters have now gone for something drastically different. They elected outspoken Mayor Rodrigo Duterte by a landslide. He's presented himself as an anti-establishment figure who can fix problems. He cares little for the polite conventions of politics, giving unscripted speeches often laced with obscenities. And what he calls the pandemic of methamphetamine addiction is at the very top of his list of things to do.
We see a lot of ranting about human rights in my campaign against drugs. Let me be frank with you this afternoon. The fight against drugs will continue and unrelenting. If the resistance is violent, thereby placing your life in jeopardy, shoot and shoot him dead. Can I be more clearer than that?
The bodies of those suspected of involvement in drugs started turning up right after he took office. The police admit killing hundreds, all resisting arrest, they say. But many more have died at the hands of mysterious hit squads. The reasons for each death often unclear. This is a security camera video from a neighbourhood in Tondo, Manila, on the evening of the 3rd of August. You can see local resident Danilo Mendoza buying something from a food stall. His young children playing around him. A motorbike then pulls up. The passenger fires a single shot into his neck and it drives off. His wife is nearby and she rushes to help him, getting passers-by to lift him into a motor tricycle. But he died before they could get him to hospital. I went to talk to his wife, Christy, who runs her own small shop, and to his neighbours. Was he killed because of drugs? She told me he had been a user, but he'd stopped right after Duterte was elected. He was not a dealer, she said. When we got talking to other family members, they said Danilo had been involved in illegal gambling, together with some corrupt police officers. They said he'd had a loud disagreement with one policeman in the street a month before he was killed. That, they believe, was why he died.
Danilo's assassin will probably never be identified. The hit squads blamed for more than half the killings remain in the shadows. But we did manage to meet one of them, a young mother we called Maria. For obvious reasons, her identity's been concealed. Maria was brought into the contract killing business, she says, by her husband, but she'd only shot one man before President Duterte's election victory. Since then, she's killed another 5. She has no idea why they were targeted, but she says her boss is a police officer who's involved in drugs.
My husband was offered a job by a big-time policeman while he was in jail. He immediately said yes. A lot of people owe this man money. He's also a big-time drug dealer. One time, when they needed a woman for someone a man could not get close to, my husband tapped me for the job. I felt really scared and nervous because it was my first time. I just kept thinking, I am doing this for my son. When I got near this person who owed a lot to my boss, I went up close and then shot him. Next time I killed was after President Duterte got elected. Since August, I've killed 5 people. That's 6 in all.
What do you feel about the people that you kill? Because they have families too. I mean, do you feel guilty?
Yes, I do feel guilty because I have kids too. I do what I do because we don't have money. I do it for my children. I tell my husband that we can't keep doing this forever. I would not want our children to open their eyes to what we do. I don't want them to come back to us and say that they got to live because we killed for money.
Maria's statement suggests that a lot of the killing is by people inside the drug trade, perhaps eliminating rivals or those who might incriminate more powerful figures. But the impact of the drug war is being felt largely in poor communities, like this one near central Manila. Edgar Tria showed me around his barangay or district. He's the barangay chairman, and it's his job to keep an eye out for trouble.
This is the president of a senior citizen, actually. This is my president.
Very nice to meet you. I'm Jonathan.
Yeah.
I'm Bibi Parede.
Very nice to meet you, sir.
Crime is a big concern here. And talking to the residents, it's clear that President Duterte's way of dealing with it is popular. They like the fact that he's humble and down to earth, they say. But Edgar knows of 16 crystal meth addicts living in his area, most of them among the pedicab drivers. He's had the difficult job of getting them to register with the police just to keep them alive.
They are afraid because of the drive of the president, that they are worried about their life, their families, their mothers, fathers. They are worried that once they caught, of course, they know what will happen. So
They might be killed.
yeah, that's it. So they are really afraid of this drive. That's a problem. Oh, di ba?
A few of the former addicts have joined the local council as volunteers.
Dalawa, sino pa? Tatlo?
But there are no rehabilitation facilities here or anywhere else in Manila for them. nor is there much sympathy from their neighbours, who applaud the president's tough stand. Zainara del Rosario is a widow who teaches in the local primary school. She told me that the parents of 6 children in her class are drug addicts, and she says it's worse in other schools.
The bottom line is drugs, sir. And the poor people engage in drugs because in drugs they could make money. Because drugs now can be bought in very cheap yata na. Low price,
very
diba?
low price, yeah.
I believe to Duterte's vision, sir, of cleaning and healing the land, the Philippine society. I believe in him. So when I found out that he would run for a president, I supported him.
So dahil hindi po kami makikita ng nasa likuran, ang mangyayari po sa atin.
But can his anti-drug campaign succeed?
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
More than 700,000 addicts have already registered with the police. Here they're adding their names before joining a morning exercise routine in front of one of Manila's main churches. Trying to work the drug out of their system with some fast footwork. Led by Manila's finest. The police hope this will help to keep former addicts away from the drug. But in truth, it exposes the lack of any alternative treatment for them. And you have to wonder how long a police force busy cleansing its own ranks can keep up this energetic community work.
Excuse me, sir.
The police are also expected to make house calls to check on registered addicts. This is Baseco, one of the roughest of Manila's neighbourhoods. And Police Major Joe Astucia is doing his rounds, checking whether one-time drug users are slipping back into their old habits.
Boss, kumusta?
This man is recognised as the husband of a known crystal meth user. You'd better stay off it, Major Astucia warns him. They've already nabbed one couple with a methamphetamine pipe. They're made to march, handcuffed with the police, on a walk of shame through the community. This man was an addict for a year. Now he must put up with having his home searched every week. But at least this way, he can be reasonably sure of staying alive.
How do you know if they're clean or not, if they're still using or not?
We hear some reports. If we can hear some reports, and we will validate.
You talk to the neighbours?
Yes, like that. We will validate.
Back at the police station, the handcuffed couple are booked. Their 2 children look on tearfully. This isn't the first time their parents have been caught, and they may now have to move to one of the overcrowded jails. They're just users, small-time players. None of this really solves the country's drug problem. Bigger dealers, like Roger, not his real name, have instead chosen to go into hiding. He says much of his business was with corrupt police officers, and he's convinced they'd kill him if he surrendered.
It's much better to run. My colleagues who surrendered are now dead. If I surrender, they kill me. So why should I surrender?
Don't you ever feel guilty about the job you do? You're selling drugs, which are very destructive to people. This is methamphetamine. It's a very destructive drug.
I do truly believe that I have committed sins big time. I have done many awful things. I have wronged a lot of people. Because more people have become addicted to drugs, and because I am one of the people who sells them drugs. What I can say is, it depends on the person. I can't say that everyone who takes drugs commits crimes, that they steal or that they kill. Me? I'm also an addict, but I don't kill. I'm addict, but I don't steal.
Roger plans to stay hidden for a few months and then get back to business. He doesn't believe President Duterte can keep this campaign going for much longer. Maria would like to get out of the killing business, but she says she can't.
Do you ever wish that you hadn't started this, that perhaps you'd never started killing, or do you feel you had no choice?
From now on, I don't want to do it anymore. I leave it to my husband. But my boss says that if one of us tries to leave, we'll be killed.
Millions of Filipinos, though, still hold faith in their new president. That unlike his predecessors, he can shake this country out of its bad habits. Many, like Zenada, believe the Philippines needs another strongman. But transforming this disorderly island nation of 100 million people may yet prove too much, even for a man who is as ruthless and determined as Rodrigo Duterte.